The episode begins with a tranquil morning scene at a home. A nameplate reads, Nakamura. A male voice calls out, "Bye," as a shadow passes the nameplate. The scene shifts to an Okinawan setting. A young man with dark, spiky hair in a school uniform walks along a coastal road, the turquoise sea sparkling beside him. He introduces himself as Nakamura Teruaki and explains that earlier that spring, he transferred from Tokyo to a school in Okinawa. Inside the classroom, students are already present, some chatting. A cheerful voice calls out, "Tiru!" A girl with long, dark hair, tanned skin, and a bright smile runs energetically into the classroom. This is Kian Hina, who greets Teruaki. Teruaki internally notes that this is the girl he has a crush on, but he's too shy to talk to her, just like in a manga. However, there's a small problem. The girl he likes speaks in the Okinawan dialect. As she talks animatedly, he can't understand a word she's saying. This dialect comes from a traditional time that predates modern Japanese, a completely different language. Flustered, he laments that he can't properly talk to the girl he likes. Suddenly, a blonde girl with a laid-back expression, Higa Kana, tells him that Kian was talking about how rough the recent rainstorm was. Teruaki thanks her. Higa then warmly greets Kian, with the smaller girl resting comfortably against her chest. Teruaki notes internally that everyone else seems to understand Kian's accent, and he's envious. He appreciates Higa for often teaching him bits of the dialect. Kian then offers Teruaki a brown sugar snack, asking in Uchinaguchi. Higa translates, "Want a brown sugar snack?" Later, during a volleyball game, Kian cheers, "Chibaryu!" Higa, standing beside him, translates it as, "Do your best." At the end of the school day, as Kian and Higa are leaving, Higa translates, "See you tomorrow." During a school break, Teruaki and Higa walk together in the hallway. He offers her a can of A&W soda, brand placement, as a thank you for helping with translations. Higa, blushing slightly, hesitates, saying he doesn't need to do that and that she'll help him anytime. Their hands touch, and in classic anime fashion, Higa internally reveals that she's teaching him Uchinaguchi just to have an excuse to talk to him. Teruaki comments on how difficult the Okinawan dialect is to learn. Higa, looking down, internally admits she can't tell him her true motive. Suddenly, Kian pops out from behind a locker, startling Higa. Kian exclaims something in Uchinaguchi. No one understands her, but the translation reveals she's concerned that Higa's face is red. Meanwhile, Teruaki tries to jot down the unfamiliar words in his notebook. Higa, mortified, quickly covers Kian's mouth and tells her that he doesn't need to know what those words mean. Later, Teruaki and Kian are walking together and she's trying to talk about a TV show about a dog. Teruaki spots Higa in the distance and calls out, "Hey, Higa-san!" To his surprise, everyone around him jumps in shock. Several people turn and ask if he was calling them, as Higa is a very common surname in Okinawa, and apparently everyone is a cousin. At school, he learns it might be best to call her Kana, but Teruaki doesn't realize this and just walks away, much to Kana's disappointment. As he walks, it finally dawns on him. Maybe that's why people in Okinawa call each other by their first names, although the real reason might be the influence of the US, military base stationed there since the 1940s. Kana blushes and begins talking rapidly, telling him he doesn't have to use her first name if he doesn't want to, but it's clear she definitely wants him to. After school, Teruaki is walking home when he sees Higa again. Just as he's about to call out to her, 4 people around him twitch, ready to respond. He stops himself. Still, as a Japanese boy, he finds it embarrassing to call a girl by her first name, but he bites the bullet and does it anyway. The people nearby blush, looking at him like he's the boldest young man of the century. Just then, an old lady taps his shoulder to teach him another important lesson. He has to really pronounce the "san" part, otherwise Kana-san sounds like "I love you." As he repeats the mistake several times, Kana turns bright red. Suddenly, the neighborhood granny calls over to Kana to get her boyfriend. Kana shouts back, telling Teruaki to call her Kana, stressing the need to draw it out. A chibi animal appears on screen to explain. In Okinawa, you need to draw out a person's name if it has 2 syllables. On another day, Teruaki faces yet another problem: the screams of a lost child crying their eyes out. Hina kneels down to comfort the child, while Kana reaches into her bag and pulls out a thermos. She explains Okinawa memo number 1, Mabuigumi. It's an old tradition that only grandmas seem to know, meant to help people who are in shock. After the boy drinks the soup, he calms down. However, he suddenly tries to rush off to find his mother, but the girls stop him. Hina begins to speak gently to the boy to soothe him, and the 2 of them look out at the ocean. She tells him that Okinawa is a small place, so he's bound to find his mother eventually. Higa translates this profound Okinawan belief. As long as you're in Okinawa, no matter how far apart you are, you'll always see each other again someday. That's what the people of Okinawa used to think. Maybe they just forgot. Suddenly, a woman runs up calling the boy Kazu, his mother. After the emotional reunion, the boy shyly admits to Hina that he had no idea what she was saying, much to her shock. As they depart, Hina teaches them another saying from her grandparents. In Okinawa, people don't say goodbye. They say, "See you tomorrow." As they walk, Teruaki becomes absent-minded and doesn't watch where he's going. He comes to a stop right in front of a large bull being led out of a truck parked nearby. Teruaki is stunned. The man leading the bull apologizes, and Kayan reassures Teruaki that it's just a bull, asking if he's okay. Higa explains that it's almost bullfighting season, so they're training the bull on the beach. Kayan exclaims that Teruaki must have been so shocked he dropped his mabui, spirit. As she steps closer to his face, Teruaki blushes. He insists he's fine, but Kayan playfully says she'll perform a mabui gumi for him, just in case. She suddenly lunges at him with her hands outstretched, shouting. Teruaki, flustered and blushing, is spun around by Kayan, who gently pats his back and repeats what she had said to the little boy earlier. She explains that, unlike children, adults' mabui are bigger, so she has to put more force into it. Still, Teruaki's heart is pounding and he feels a warm sensation from her touch. The scene shifts back to school, where another tan-skinned student is talking to Teruaki. She's shocked he's never had sata andagi. Okinawa Memo 2, Sata Andagi. A chibi shisa chef appears to explain the name of the snack. Sata, sugar, anda, in oil, and agi, fried. It's a sweet fried treat, and Teruaki agrees to try it for the first time. But suddenly, his classmates' eyes begin to glow as all their grandmothers make and sell the snack. A mob of students rush toward him, excitedly declaring that their grandmas would be thrilled to make him some. Kian explains that he's experiencing Okinawa's famous kame-kame attack. She explains that this happens when you visit grandma's house and are forced to eat more food than you can handle. Kami means eat. It's a tradition born from Okinawan hospitality and pride. When someone visits or when outsiders try Okinawan food, the entire neighborhood will compete to feed them, each granny trying to prove hers is the best. Meanwhile, Kana quietly watches the chaos, shyly thinking about making a sata snack for Teruaki herself. Hina guesses her thoughts and encourages her, even placing an order. The next morning, back in the classroom, each student proudly fills Teruaki's desk with sata treats. Kayan bursts in cheerfully with a large bag to add to the pile. Teruaki, surprised, asks if she made it. "Nope, my grandma did," she says with a grin. Teruaki, touched, replies, "Oh, of course." Kayan greets Higa, who's hiding a small bag of sata behind her back. Flustered, Higa tries to give it to Teruaki, but when she gets in front of him, she starts stammering and barely says a word. She struggles the entire day, kicking herself for not being able to talk to him normally. Later, she finally yells out her frustration, only to realize Teruaki is standing behind her. Unable to face him, she runs away. But the two are stopped by the ever-energetic Hina, who's holding two bags. Once again, as Hina speaks, Teruaki doesn't understand a word, but this time, Kana remembers. She can translate, giving her an easy way to talk to him and offer him her homemade snack. With this, she's able to use her own words and give him the sata andagi, but just as she thinks she's sharing a moment with him, Teruaki returns to being oblivious. Still, the three all eat the snack as friends. But suddenly, their classmates get their attention as students from all the athletic clubs come out of the woodwork to give him a bag of sata andagi. Next, the entire town of Okinawa surrounds the school to give him a bag of the snack. Episode 2 opens with Teruaki Nakamura and Kana Higa observing Hina Kian, who is intently staring at a man by the seaside. Higa asks Teruaki what he is doing, and he explains that he is watching Kian because she's acting strangely, just staring at the man, and he's unsure whether to approach her. Higa casually mentions that Kian is in love with that Oji-san. Teruaki is visibly heartbroken by this revelation. Teruaki is still flustered by Higa's comment, but just assumes Kian admires the older man, not that it's actual love. Just then, Kian, having noticed Higa talking to Teruaki about the Oji-san, gets embarrassed and questions Higa for telling him. Higa, confused, asks if she wasn't supposed to. Kian insists she wasn't, even though she frequently talks about the Oji-san. Blushing profusely, Kian admits it's embarrassing to have it pointed out so directly, fidgeting nervously. All the while, Teruaki's crush is dying as he listens to Kian express her love for Oji-san, while she's not even all that interested romantically. Then Kian says she loves Kisu, believing she has already kissed the man. In his mind, Teruaki imagines himself boxing an old man and getting KO'd in one hit. Higa then admits she likes Kisu too, making Teruaki lose all hope, now scared that this is some weird Okinawan girl thing. Just then, he notices she said delicious, meaning food, as Kian points to the old man, who happens to be a fisherman tossing out his net and hauling in a large catch of colorful fish. Kian exclaims in delight at the abundance of fish. The fisherman greets Teruaki, calling him Teru, and asks if he and Higa are friends from school. Looking at the man, Teruaki thinks he looks too young to be called Oji-san. The fisherman offers Kian some fish if she likes them. Kian, holding one of the caught fish, laments that she didn't catch any Oji-san. The fisherman explains that Oji-san, the fish, are not in season. This makes Teruaki imagine a season of the year where old men attract women. By listening more carefully, he realizes that Oji-san also refers to a type of fish. Higa playfully teases Kian about hiding to watch the Oji-san. Kian then exclaims that she cannot forget the taste of kisu and that she loves kisu. Teruaki is once again shocked, misinterpreting kisu as a kiss. Higa's brother then offers Teruaki some kisu, salago fish, that he caught. Higa later introduces the fisherman as her older brother, whom she calls Ani-san. The next day, Teruaki is shown extremely excited for a class beach party. He muses about the beautiful Okinawan scenery, blue skies, white sandy beaches, and emerald green seas, and is particularly pleased with his new swim trunks. He checks his phone, which reads 4:45. The party is scheduled to start at 15 honored. Just then, Kian calls out his name as she, Higa, and Higa's brother arrive in a van. Kian is carrying a box of Sanpin tea, Okinawan jasmine tea, and comments that Teruaki is early. He notices Kian is wearing a red t-shirt with the number 329 and a baseball cap. Casual attire he finds incredibly cute. Higa's brother reminds Higa about staying hydrated, mentioning that she forgot during her last practice and should drink something with minerals. Higa is annoyed by her doting brother. Teruaki observes this interaction, gaining insight into Higa's relationship with her brother, and reassures him by saying he knows Higa is responsible, even if Teruaki's overexcited nature tends to annoy people. Still, the brother waves goodbye. The three set up their stuff, and Teru excitedly waits for the class, only for them all to be 15 minutes late, prompting him to complain. Just then, Hina activates Dio's Za Warudo using her stand. She then seriously addresses Teruaki. Right now, he's in Okinawa under Okinawa time flow. She's about to impart a valuable lesson. Okinawans are known for being late to everything. For example, if you say, be there at 7:30 a.m., expect them to come no sooner than 8:45. Sure enough, 30 minutes after the designated time, the class finally shows up. The beach party is in full swing, with many classmates enjoying themselves. They all raise their drinks for a group cheer of a barbecue is set up, and Kian is shown enthusiastically eating various grilled foods. Teruaki expresses his desire to go swimming, but his plans are momentarily sidetracked when a classmate approaches, eager to perform some gags. Another classmate, dressed in a traditional-looking robe, also joins in, performing a gag with the chant. Teruaki, visibly confused by the unexpected turn of events, decides against stripping down to his swim trunks and stays in his shirt. The party continues with some older attendees enjoying karaoke. Teruaki is surprised by the presence of so many older people. The Chibis explain that beach parties in Okinawa are inclusive events enjoyed by all age groups, unlike mainland Japanese beach parties, which are often perceived as being primarily for younger people. Later, the party goes on with people playing cards, putting on sunscreen, and engaging in various other games. By the time the sun is about to go down, everyone is ready to leave, without anyone ever going for a swim. Just as everyone's about to head out, Teru makes an emotional outburst, saying it's a waste to have such a beautiful sea right there and not go for a swim. This makes everyone laugh, as they don't mind if he goes in the water. Teru, however, feels embarrassed being the only one playing in the sea. Hina then tries to explain why none of them went in the water, but her accent is too strong for him to understand. Kana translates, saying it's because Okinawans find it embarrassing due to mucha mucha. Teru is confused, not knowing what that means, and even the other classmates are baffled, since it's obvious to them. This makes Kana embarrassed, revealing that mucha mucha isn't standard Japanese. That's when the entire class suddenly realizes their dialect isn't standard Japanese, which makes them sad. It's a reminder of why their dialect can be embarrassing when visiting big cities. Suddenly, they all walk home in shame. On another school day, Teru is happy because Kana went home early, meaning he gets to walk with Hina alone. He plans to invite her somewhere private. However, his plan is abruptly ruined as it begins to rain heavily. Kian comments that Okinawan weather reports are notoriously useless, as the weather can change at any moment due to their location. Teruaki remembers he has an umbrella and prepares to offer it to Kian, imagining the classic romantic moment of sharing one. But before he can act, Kayan walks out into the rain, letting it soak her. Teruaki is left standing there, baffled by her reaction. It's explained that Okinawans are built different. They don't get the anime colds that seem to kill off every romance character. Whether it's because of the strong winds, the prevalence of cars, or whatever excuse they use, they simply can't be bothered to carry umbrellas. Honestly, it feels like something they picked up from the Americans. As they walk, Teru tries to offer her the umbrella, but every time he builds up the courage, the rain stops. Teru is left in tears, defeated by Okinawan weather. Then a rainbow appears, and Teru realizes that's another reason people don't carry umbrellas. Hina tries to get Teru's attention to run home, but he tries to stop her because her clothes are soaked. Hina doesn't think it's that bad, until she looks down and realizes her clothes have gone see-through. Flustered, she covers herself and runs away, yelling that Teru is a pervert. On another day, Teruaki and Higa are at the seaside during a beautiful sunset. Teruaki asks Higa what she's doing there. Higa gestures toward Kion, who is playing with her younger siblings. Teruaki comments on how pleasant it is to walk home by the sea. He then recalls that the bench Higa is sitting on is the same spot where he first met her during spring break. Higa feigns ignorance. Suddenly, Kayan appears and mentions she thought their first meeting was at the school entrance ceremony. Higa clarifies that they actually met by chance on that bench during spring break. Teruaki reminisces he had just arrived from Tokyo where it was snowing and was feeling the Okinawan heat while sitting on the bench reading a Shonen Jump magazine. Some kids started yelling at him, shocked that he had a copy of Jump that wasn't supposed to release until the next day. Teruaki was confused by their reaction. A Jump report then explained that Okinawa gets all its copies a week later than Tokyo. Kana shows up to explain to her kid brother that the magazine comes late compared to the mainland, which makes the kids cry and shout about how unfair it is. Teruaki kindly offers his already read Shonen Jump to Naoya and Suzu. Kana apologizes to Teruaki for her brother's enthusiastic but mistaken outburst. Higa then asks Teruaki if he had just arrived in Okinawa that day. He confirms he took the morning flight. She asks why he was at that specific spot, and Teruaki explains that he had never seen the ocean up close before and was thinking about going for a swim. As he speaks, a sudden gust of wind blows Higa's cap into the sea. She panics and runs after it. Without hesitation, Teruaki dives into the water and retrieves the cap. He emerges from the sea holding it up, with Higa, Naoya, and Suzu looking at him in admiration. Higa's heart flutters. She thanks him, and Naoya, trying to embarrass his sister, tells Teru that Higa can't swim. Teru admits he can't either and is kind of terrified, but hearing this only deepens Higa's feelings for him. He leaves, and Higa is left worried she'll never see him again, kicking herself for not working up the courage to talk to him. On the first day of school, Teru is all dressed up to make a good impression, but ends up alone, unable to talk to anyone. Higa is nervous, not knowing what to say to him, but before she can work up the courage, Hina beats her to it, starting a conversation and capturing Teru's attention. Higa is saddened when she hears that Teru can't understand Hina's Okinawan dialect. The episode begins with Teruaki Nakamura engrossed in photographing Shisa statues. His friends Hina Kion and Kana Higa approach him. She enthusiastically asks if he's once again taking pictures of Shisa. Teruaki, smiling, confirms this, explaining that for him, coming from the mainland, Shisa are quite rare and fascinating, prompting him to photograph them whenever he encounters a new one. He then politely turns to the presumed owner of the property, bowing and thanking him for allowing the photography. Hina observes Teruaki's courteous behavior, commenting on how polite he is for seeking permission. Hina playfully peeks at Teruaki's phone, exclaiming in surprise at the sheer number of Shisa photos in his album, even remarking in Okinawan. Kana, with a touch of concern, asks if he obtained permission for each photo he took. Hina is still looking through his photos when she sees pictures of trains and a railway crossing. She's surprised, commenting that it must be from where he used to live and seems quite ordinary to him. Next, Teruaki continues to talk about the cute faces of the Shisa, but the girls look at him like he's an idiot. This prompts Hina to explain the significance of Shisa. She elaborates that they are placed at the entrance of houses, with the male Shisa typically on the right with its mouth open to catch good fortune and ward off evil spirits, while the female Shisa is on the left with its mouth closed to keep the good fortune from escaping. Hina also adds that in the past, roofers would make Shisa from leftover roof tiles as a bonus for homeowners. This led to a variety of unique and sometimes quirky designs, depending on the craftsman's skill and the available materials. Some old shisa, she notes, are quite elaborate, while others might look a bit scary or strange, making each one a surprise at this point, as the homeowner had no idea which one they'd get until the house was already built. Teruaki is impressed by this history and begins taking more photos with renewed enthusiasm. Hina is happy that Teru is embracing their culture, noting that he's starting to look less and less like an outsider. This excites Kion, who begins telling him even more about the history of shisa, though Kana is forced to translate since Hina's talking too fast. The scene shifts to the school classroom as the bell for lunchtime rings. Hina and Teruaki stretch, with Hina yawning and exclaiming that it's finally lunchtime. Two of their male classmates approach Teruaki, inviting him to go to the school store. As he agrees, the school's public address system crackles to life. Suddenly, something overtakes the students. They begin to shake, looking like they're in pain. Teru is confused, not knowing what to do, but then everyone starts shaking and moving their bodies. Teru stands there thinking about what this could mean. Reflecting on all the strange things he's encountered up to this point, he believes he can figure it out. He points to the loudspeaker. He's figured it out. It's an Okinawan folk song corner. Kana's voice calls out to him, saying he's right. He turns to see her doing a folk dance. Teru is surprised and asks if she's going to stop. Kana blushes. She can't. Once you hear the song, your body just starts moving on its own. The folk dance isn't taught in school, but most Okinawans dance to it when they hear it. Teruaki is utterly bewildered, watching his classmates move with practiced ease, not knowing where or how to learn it. His classmates don't know how to help him either. They don't even know how they do the kachashi themselves. One boy says he just copied what his grandfather did when he was in preschool. Yai says she might have learned it from the old lady at Chinin's Shoten. Hina comes over and says that most people just see this dance as kids and learn it naturally. She adds that if he plans to have a child here, he's going to need to teach them the dance, making Teru flustered and daydream about an older Hina raising his child. Meanwhile, Hina imagines another party gathering 50 years in the future with her friends. Kana is playing a tune when Teru's grandson asks him to teach him how to do the kachashi. Teru looks down in shame. He has to admit he can't do the sacred dance. In a full-blown panic, Hina decides she must teach him so he doesn't let his grandson down, much to his confusion. Hina demonstrates the hand movements, explaining it's like mixing things up, but Teru is much too stiff in his movements. That's when Hina suggests Kana teach him, but the girl is far too embarrassed, having to teach her crush how to dance. She starts thinking this is the beginning of their intimate relationship, already picturing raising a family with Teru. The next scene takes place after school under the hot Okinawan sun. Hina is dressed like an old-time Japanese burler, keeping a hawk-like eye on an old bald man. Teru, having no idea what's going on, tries to ask her what's happening. That's when she grabs his mouth to shush him. Her friends are used to her antics by now. She leads them to an outdoor food stall, a parlor named Parlor King Nuyaga. The narrator explains that parlors are simple old-fashioned shops selling food, often with traditional Okinawan dishes. When it's Kion's turn to order, Teru thinks the heat must be getting to her as she orders zenzai, only to be confused when it arrives. In Okinawa, zenzai can be either hot or cold, hot being a sweet red bean soup and cold being shaved ice. Hina exclaims something in Okinawan, and Teru, though confused, doesn't care. She looks cute when she's happy. Kana is about to translate, but another male friend cuts in, saying Hina said it's super tasty. This makes Kana look down. She doesn't know how to talk to Teru unless it's to translate for Hina. Yae notices Kana's feelings for Teru, and Kana grows gloomy as the boy continues translating for Hina. The boys head off to get drinks, and the pink-haired girl realizes she forgot her wallet. As she turns back, she notices the change in Kana's expression. She wants to get closer to Teru. The girl sits back down, not bothering to get a drink, and gives Kana an evil grin. She knows her secret. Hina joins in on teasing Kana. The scene shifts to the Uruma City Aisa Festival. The atmosphere is vibrant, filled with crowds and traditional Okinawan music. Teruaki is visibly impressed by the scale and energy of it all. He watches the Gushikawa Youth Association perform Aisa, a traditional Okinawan bond dance. Male dancers vigorously beat taiko drums with synchronized movements, while female dancers move gracefully with intricate hand gestures. Others sing and play a string instrument, like Hina's brother Tetsu. Kana is among the dancers. Yae teases her, saying Teru is watching, and Kana tries to downplay her feelings. Earlier in the day, one of Teru's friends, Isao, invited him to the festival. Teru had no idea what he was agreeing to, but came to support. As he takes in the event, he hears the muffled voices of a young couple having fun behind him. It makes him wonder if he could be with Hina in a moment like this. He thinks he has no shot with her due to his lack of courage. Watching the performance, he notes how powerful the boys are and how pretty the girls look. But then there's Hina, acting like a total weirdo. She's in a unique striped outfit, a straw hat, and a comical white mask with red cheek spots and black markings. A Jara, or Chongjina, costume. One moment she's dancing with great enthusiasm. The next, she's playfully holding a crying baby. Teruaki watches, assuming it's because she sucks at dancing, but Suzu corrects him with Naoya beside her. She tells Teru to watch Hina more carefully and describe what he sees. Teru starts to realize that Hina's job is to excite the crowd. Suzu says he's partially right. Her role as the Chondara is actually the busiest of them all. She's supposed to keep things tidy, wipe down performers, signal songs to start, stay on rhythm, hand out water, engage the audience, and provide top-tier crowd service. At a closer look, Hina may seem like she's goofing off, but her eyes are constantly scanning the scene, ready to react at a moment's notice. Her job is essentially being the floor master of the entire event. She can do everything. This opens Teru's eyes. He remembers how she was the first person to talk to him on his first day of school. Without her, he'd still be an outsider. After the Gushikawa Youth Association's performance ends, the host praises their show and announces the next group, the Yakena Youth Association. Teruaki briefly sees Hina and calls out to her. She turns, still in her Kandara costume, and asks if he saw her perform. Flustered, Teruaki stammers that it was very good. He shakes his head, unsure of what else to say. Unable to look her in the eyes, he starts talking about his first day at school, how she spoke to him then. When he finishes, he realizes that's all he wanted to say to her, and that somehow is good enough. For now. Teru is about to confess to Hina, but in his nervousness, he laughs while looking at her face. Hina explains that they're going to take a group picture at the end, so she's planning to change how she looks for it. She then asks if he's ready for the final act of the festival, a giant dance party. It's tradition to play a final song where everyone comes out to dance to the folk music. As if on cue, the festive music swells, and the entire crowd erupts into the lively, free-form, their hands waving rhythmically above their heads. Kana stands beside a still bewildered Teruaki, observing the joyous scene. She works up the courage to start a conversation with him, without Hina, asking if he's going to dance. Teru admits he's not much of a dancer, but smiles. He remarks with genuine admiration how amazing Okinawa is, with its rich living traditions and culture. He confesses that even after being there for 4 months, he's constantly encountering new and surprising aspects of Okinawan life. Kana smiles and explains that during this particular season, performances and festivals are a common occurrence, happening almost every week. Teruaki, looking at Kana, silently reflects on her evident love for her homeland. Looking down and blushing slightly, Kana shyly tells Teruaki that she enjoys talking with him, but afraid he might misunderstand, she elaborates that many things considered ordinary in Okinawa are novel and different from what he's used to on the mainland, and she likes talking to him about them. Teruaki is happy to hear this, as he had assumed he was more of a bother with her constantly translating everything for him. Kana, becoming even more flustered by his appreciation, quickly dismisses it as no big deal, saying she's also learning more about the mainland because of him. She then looks down, embarrassed, and murmurs that she wants to spend more time with him, that this is the reason she translates so much for him. Teruaki, oblivious to her feelings, assumes this is simply because she loves her homeland so much. Hearing him, Kana now mistakenly believes that Teru understands the depth of her feelings. He makes it worse by saying he feels the same way about her. Kana's heart races as Teru says he wants to learn more from her, and she misunderstands this and him wanting to know more about her personally. When he adds that he wants to be more hands-on, her brain short-circuits, believing he wants to grope her. She retreats, exclaiming it's too soon for that kind of thing. After another round of conversation, she realizes he was talking about Okinawan culture, not their relationship. With that, Teru has one more request for her to teach him how to do chashi. Their friends watch the two dance alone together, giving Yae something to tease Kana about. Later, as the students walk home, Hina, ever energetic, begins to practice her Teruaki watches her, impressed by her skill. He comments that her Aisa performance, especially her whistling, was so cool that it inspired him to try learning it himself, though he admits he's had no success at all. Hina blushes at the praise, causing Kana to poke her so she doesn't get a big head. Hina then invites Teru to the beach so she can teach him how to whistle. He attempts a whistle, but only a puff of air escapes. Teruaki reiterates how cool Hina is, and she responds with another effortless, clear whistle. The narrator adds that in Okinawa, people whistle for just about everything: weddings, festivals, dates, which is why you hear more whistling here than in other parts of Japan. Kana mentions that some old geezer taught them how to whistle on the beach when they were kids. Teru thinks this is the perfect Okinawan experience, but it soon becomes clear that Hina is a terrible teacher, comically yelling at the ocean while admitting she knows she's bad at it. That's when Yae steps in, like the perfect wing woman, and suggests Kana teach them instead. Hina agrees, giving this background character another moment to shine as the main girl. Kana shyly tries to get out of it, but Yae won't let her, leaving Kana puzzled as to why she's being so persistent. Kana doesn't know what to do until her sister Suzu throws a tantrum, blackmailing her into teaching by threatening to expose what Kana says about Teru in her sleep. Left with no choice, Kana explains the correct finger positioning for whistling. Using 2 index fingers to form a ring shape and inserting them into the mouth, she emphasizes that the most crucial element is the shape of the tongue, which needs to be pointed upwards. As Kana explains, the camera focuses closely on her mouth, and Teruaki watches intently. Kana becomes self-conscious under his gaze, worried he might get the wrong idea. Meanwhile, Yae is barely holding back her laughter. Unfortunately, her younger siblings can't follow along, so Kana is forced to demonstrate again and again, all while Teru keeps watching her. In the end, they all manage to learn how to whistle. Teru thanks Kana for all her help while she's off to the side, completely overstimulated and unable to respond. The episode then transitions into another flashback, set 8 years earlier. Kana and Hina watch as an old geezer teaches some neighborhood kids how to whistle. Kana wants to learn but is too shy. Hina picks it up quickly and tries to teach Kana, but she can't get it right, even after a week of trying. One of the kids, Haru, notices her struggling and teases her for failing. Hina tells him to stop, but Haru just tries to show off the cool bugs he caught, telling Kana to forget about whistling and come with them. Hina defends her, calling him a jerk. Haru doesn't think he's done anything wrong. After all, Kana can't whistle, even after a week of trying. The two start arguing, but stop when they see Kana crying. She tries to downplay how badly she wants to whistle, apologizing for wasting Hina's time. Haru, unaware she's putting on a brave face, is happy, thinking now they can go look for bugs. But Hina isn't having it. She knocks Haru out and tells Kana not to worry, they'll keep practicing. Kana apologizes again, but Hina insists she's not a bother. Hina promises to keep practicing with her, even if it takes until Kana becomes an old lady. Touched by Hina's unwavering support, the two girls begin going all over Okinawa asking old people how to whistle. Kana even takes notes. They pray for good fortune, and after lots of practice and many tears, they finally get it right. When they go to show off to Hina's brothers, Haru is shocked. Tetsu, feeling guilty, admits that Haru can't whistle either, making Haru embarrassed. He expects them to gloat, but instead, Hina offers to teach him. Back in the present, the girls remember all of this, especially how much Kana used to cry while practicing. On the last day of the first semester, the narrator explains that although Teru Nakamura has been in Okinawa for 4 months, there are still local customs he hasn't quite grasped. In class, his classmate Uema announces, "Let's go to the bathroom." Teru readily agrees and follows. As they walk down the hallway, Uema humming and snapping his fingers to an Okinawan tune, he suddenly stops confused and asks Teru why he's following him. Teru, equally shocked, says, "You invited me." Uema denies this, explaining he just needs to poop. The two boys argue. A narrator then steps in to clarify the misunderstanding, explaining an Okinawa memo, in Okinawan dialect saying, "Let's do something," often just means, "I'm going to do something," not an actual invitation. Clearly, there's still much for Teru to learn. The scene shifts to the classroom after the closing ceremony. Teru is erasing the chalkboard while Higa-san, Kian-san, and their classmate Higanatsumi are cleaning. Teru sneezes from the chalk dust. Higa-san, with a small smile, says, "Kusukeya." Teru, puzzled, repeats the word. Higa-san blushes and covers her mouth in embarrassment. Teru, intrigued, asks for its meaning, guessing it might be similar to "bless you." Yae bluntly reveals that Kusukeya actually means "eat shit." Teru is mortified. Another Okinawa memo explains that Okinawans believed majimun, or demons, caused sneezes to steal a person's soul. Mabui. Kusukeya was shouted to ward them off. Higa-san, flustered, explains she learned the phrase from her grandma and didn't mean it offensively, leading Tiru to reassure her. Later, as Tiru, Higa-san, and Kian-san walk home at sunset, Tiru muses about old beliefs in soul-stealing demons. Kian-san playfully tries to scare him by acting like a Majimon, but Tiru only finds her cute. Hina then mentions Okinawan charms, Mayoke, for warding off Majimon. A series of Majimon Buster cards illustrate Shisa statues, Suijigai, water kanji shells, and Hinpun, low walls, as protective charms. Tiru points out an Ishiganto plaque, and Hina agrees it's another common charm. Tiru nervously remarks on how superstitious the people of Okinawa are, but quickly clarifies he means spiritual, not wanting to offend her. In a flashback, Kian-san's hardworking grandfather, initially a disbeliever in unseen things like charms and yuta, gradually began to believe after his grandchild was born. Eventually, he adopted Shisa and Suijigai charms for his home. Kian-san reflects that having something precious to protect can make one more cautious. She then playfully grabs Tiru's arm and gives him a san, a charm made of tied Suzuki grass, meant to protect loved ones. The Shisa narrator explains that san are often given by grandmothers and can be placed on food or at gates. As they part ways, Higa-san is visibly downcast, total gloom mode. Back in her room with days of summer break passing on a calendar, she laments not having spoken to Tiru for a week and worries she won't see him until the next term. She lies on the floor in gloom, watching a local TV show with her younger sister. Contemplating inviting Tiru out, she thrashes about, convinced it would be awkward. Deciding to go shopping to clear her head, she encounters Tiru at a bus stop. He greets her cheerfully, explaining he's returning from the convenience store. Higa-san, flustered, says she was going to look at clothes. Tiru expresses his own desire to buy new clothes. As she's stumbling over her next words, the bus arrives. Surprisingly on time, a rarity in Okinawa, as explained by an Okinawa memo which notes Okinawan buses are often late due to long routes and traffic. Kana wishes it had been late so she could have talked more with Tiru, overthinking everything again. As a farewell, Higa-san says, "Okay, let's go shopping." As she sits on the bus thinking about her failure, she hears the rustling of a bag and sees Tiru next to her. It turns out Tiru, misunderstanding this as an invitation due to Okinawan phrasing, Higa-san realizes she successfully asked him on a date, albeit unintentionally. He offers her fried chicken from his convenience store trip. Higa-san is internally ecstatic, eating some chicken with him. They arrive at the mall, with Kana already losing Tiru, only to find him trying on Hawaiian shirts. This makes her panic, and she tells him they're not Hawaiian shirts, but karyushi. A memo explains that the shirt used to be unpopular in the early 2000s, so it was rebranded as karyushi wear. Now people wear it to work and in offices. It's officially the chillest business casual wear. Still, Tiru is unable to tell the difference between them. For clarity, more formal ones have one pattern on the side, while more tropical ones have patterns all over. Tiru begins to quiz Kana on the difference, complimenting her on being able to tell. She feels smug, until a store clerk ruins the moment by saying she's wrong. Still, the clerk tries to sell Tiru on getting a matching set with his girlfriend. The two embarrassed teens quickly clarify the misunderstanding. Kana is left so flustered she can't think straight. She tries to run away, but Tiru again misinterprets her words. Later, he learns she hadn't intended to invite him along. Kana apologizes for the misunderstanding, but Tiru doesn't mind. He enjoyed spending time with her. The two end up hanging out all day together, watching performances, picking out clothes, playing games, and exploring the mall. They return home late together on the bus. Tiru is happy he got lots of shopping done, and even got discounts. Kana enjoyed her time too. Shyly, she wonders aloud if they can do it again, her voice barely above a whisper. But Tiru hears it and agrees to go with her again. Later in the summer, Tiru is back at school for a calisthenics class with children. He must look like an outsider, as the kids all swarm him. Higa-san and Kian-san arrive, and Kian-san comments on Tiru's popularity with the children. Tiru is approached by two young girls who repeatedly say, while talking to him. One explains she learned a backflip, and the other asks if he's met a celebrity. Tiru finds the verbal tick incredibly cute. An Okinawa memo explains that Okinawan children often use fun as an interjection for confirmation or while thinking. If they did this with a glare, it would resemble the famous Uchiha sound. Tiru recalls that Suzu-chan, Kana's sister, also does this. Kian-san's grandmother then appears, calling out to Hina. Hina hugs her and starts speaking rapidly, excitedly describing her cool grandma with sunglasses. She lets out a verbal tick she's embarrassed to still use. Tiru bows and introduces himself formally, trying to make a good impression. The grandmother speaks to him in rapid Okinawan dialect, expressing that it must have been hard moving from the mainland and inviting him to dinner. The grandmother then leads the morning calisthenics, which, to Tiru's surprise, has an Okinawan language version. After the calisthenics, Kion-san stamps the children's attendance cards. Tiru learns from a boy that collecting 7 stamps earns Kion-san's special Sata Endai. Instantly motivated to get her homemade treat, Tiru joins the calisthenics class. A montage shows Tiru diligently participating for 7 days, enduring heat, rain, and exhaustion, carrying children who couldn't make it, all for the promise of Sata Andagi. On the final day, Kion-san presents him with a massive pile of fresh Sata Andagi, made with lots of love. As she offers him the largest piece, Tiru, touched, accepts, and Kion-san playfully feeds it to him. He declares it delicious. Hina follows up by saying her grandmother's freshly made Sata Andagi really is the best. Another child then asks Kion-san for some. Just then, the grandmother appears with even more, offering them to everyone. Tiru, amidst the Okinawan chatter, has a realization. The Kion-san the children were referring to, Hina's Nine,